Hello, hello, hello there, everyone. It is time for Coffee Time Career Chat. And today we're doing our networking version. And I'm so excited to introduce today's guest. This is one of my new favorite people since we've connected, and that is Heather Dumas, who is a personal trainer, nutrition, and lifestyle coach located in Utah. So welcome, Heather. How are you doing today?
I'm so good. I'm so good.
Awesome.
I'm
Awesome.
so glad we
to have you.
connected. That's how I am.
I know it's always great. And it's always fascinating when we go back and figure out, how people connected up and how, and what that has built from. And so that's kind of where we'll start here. We met, I believe, in one of our women's networking groups.
Yeah.
And then just took off from there, right?
Yeah. Yep. You jumped out of the screen. I was like, I need to know her. She is my people. I can tell she is my people. We need to connect.
That is literally what Heather told me. Like, she's not just saying, "Oh, I'm thinking that." Like, no, that is what she told me when we were trying to get together and start having some coffee chats and things like that. Yeah. So before we get started, talking a little bit more specifically about the role of the relationship building and digging into that, tell us a little bit more about what it is that you do, how you came to this point, and how relationship building helped you along the way.
Totally. So I own HD Transformations. I have been coaching for 5 years and kind of came to it a roundabout way, as I've learned that a lot of women do when they find their passion. So as you said, I'm a personal trainer, nutrition, and lifestyle coach. And my favorite thing is to help professional women create bodies they love and understand. I came to it through group fitness. I was teaching group fitness for a long time, still do. And before that, I was an athlete growing up. So I've always been interested in it, but I never, ever thought of pursuing it as a career. And as I started teaching group fitness and I was at a bunch of different gyms, they started closing down. And I had all these ladies that were like, "Hey, we've been working out with you, every day or every, Monday, Wednesday, Friday or whatever for weeks. Now what?" So I went and got certified to help my friends and to help my husband and myself, because we're both passionate about it. And then it just kind of turned into a business. But I do have a business management degree, so I kind of know how to do that, but I never.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I never thought I would be, I thought I was going to do the corporate thing. And I worked in a cubicle for 3 months and figured out really quickly that was not for me.
Yeah.
Not for me. So it's been really, really rewarding. And I started networking pretty quickly out the gate because I didn't want to work at a big box gym. I actually didn't even want to be a trainer because I didn't want to be lumped in with those trainers. Right.
Right.
So I started networking right away in person locally here in Utah, and that was good. But I figured out that my women are not in Utah.
Okay.
I have to say that carefully. There are a few.
Right.
But it's just the high achievers, the type A's that like take no prisoners. They tend to not live here. So I was like, okay, how do I meet these women? And then I found a couple of different virtual networking groups, and now I've met amazing women like yourself. And I have clients all over the country because I coach virtually. I actually started doing that before it was cool. Moved virtually.
Isn't that fascinating how that works out?
I always tell people the number one question I used to get before March of 2020 was, how do you do personal training online? And I have never gotten that question since March of 2020.
Well, and the thing is, a little caveat for those of us who have been doing this online before, March 2020, it's kind of like we have to remind people. It's like, hey, like I wasn't new to doing this. I've been doing this like before it was required.
Yes.
Yeah,
but I was was I grateful? Was I grateful that I had already begun this journey when that happened? Because 2020 and 2021 were like my best years ever.
Wow.
I think it's because I already had the infrastructure and people all of a sudden were coming into my world.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's
so many more opportunities to meet people, now that everybody's comfortable with Zoom and it's kind of like a typical deal. It's not awkward. People aren't like, what's Zoom? What do you mean?
Yes. Tell me a little bit more, because I think it's fascinating. And it's not just about where you are, it could be like the culture where you live, where you work, or whatever. So tell me a little bit more about coming to that realization that the folks that you knew that you needed and wanted to work with were not where you were. So you got that recognition,
Yeah.
but that journey to saying, how you sought them out and how you decided to find them, in the virtual space.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. It came about through so many conversations with who I thought were my ideal clients,
Mm-hmm.
and also simultaneously doing a deep dive into who I wanted to work with. I did a deep dive and actually was not exclusively coaching women until 2021.
Okay.
And most of my clients were actually men.
Interesting.
And they would get a certain amount of success, and then they would run into a wall.
Mm-hmm.
And the wall was their partner or spouse. And it wasn't that she wasn't supportive or encouraging. It was that she didn't want to change what she was doing. And let's be honest, women are the decision makers 90% of the time, right? So even if he's cooking, she's shopping. Even if he's shopping, she's cooking. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
I figured out that if I was going to help people, I needed to go to the head of the house. And I actually just had a conversation with a potential client today and explained this to her. I said, the ripple effect of helping women is the most rewarding part,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
as soon as mama gets healthy, so does dad, so do the kids, so do your coworkers, your employees. Like, if you've ever noticed, there's a culture in different offices where,
Yeah.
people either always bring in donuts and candy, or they talk about going to the gym before work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a cultural thing. And so if the head of the house, the head of the office is taking care of herself, everyone else does. And I
Mm-hmm.
started having these conversations with people, and I was like, there are a lot of women that are very high achieving here in Utah, and a lot of women in leadership, but the culture here does not support women taking care of themselves, or at least it hasn't. It is
Mm-hmm.
shifting. It is shifting, and there are pockets, but overall, women here don't get encouraged to put
Got it.
themselves
They don't
first.
have the support. They don't have that as a
No,
support,
no,
and
it's
the
like,
initiative to support that.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And, if they do it, they're kind of the black sheep.
Interesting.
So I was like, okay, I'm starting to realize that all these women I'm speaking to, they're just not resonating with what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started speaking to women outside because of COVID. All of a sudden now everyone's online, and I actually was visiting. So I'm part of BNI, and I started visiting BNI chapters outside of Utah
Mm-hmm.
simply because I could. And
Right.
when I started meeting women outside of Utah, specifically in bigger metropolitan areas, they were resonating with my messaging. And so I was like, okay. So then I was more deliberate, and I was like, okay, I would look at cities, I would look at demographics, I would look at political leanings. And interestingly enough, red states, women tend to be more willing to spend money on themselves than blue.
Mm.
That's obviously a big stereotype and a big whatever. I'm throwing a
No,
big,
no, but I get it.
big
I
net.
worked in politics for decades,
That's
so
right.
I get
That's
it.
right.
I
I forgot about
understand.
that. Yeah. So it's interesting that, the blue states women are more of the DIY, or I'm going to just go for a hike. I'm going to do these things, as opposed to I'm going to hire a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, okay. And I actually found a red county in Northern California, visited the networking group there, and got a client.
Fascinating.
So you have to be deliberate. You have
Yeah.
to know who your
Oh
audience is.
no, I caught that. And that is so key.
You have to know
About
who your audience is.
what you've just described is what a lot of people do not do. They think about it in their head and make presumptions about it.
Yeah.
But what you said so much, you researched,
Yeah.
you did the reflection work,
Mhm.
right? A lot of people don't even do that part.
No. And if you don't
Did
do
the
that part,
reflection work, and if you don't do that part, you're done.
yeah.
Right? And being
Yeah.
very real about who it is you want to work with.
Yeah.
and then go look for them and to be so deliberate about it
Yeah.
and to reach out not
Mhm.
just to people around you, but like you literally cross state lines virtually
Yeah.
and in
Yeah.
person to make it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it was, and it, I have clients all over the country now. I have clients on the East Coast. I have clients on the West Coast. I have, it's really, really cool. And I, I really am passionate about people being healthy, understanding their bodies and taking care of themselves. If you look good, you got your six pack, sweet. That's awesome. But that's not really my jam. My jam is that you get up in the morning, you feel amazing. You have tons of energy. You can go ride a bike with your kids if that was what you want to do. Or, if you've got a marathon day of meetings, you know that you have the energy and your brain's not foggy. And the more people I can talk to around the world, that means that I've planted a seed in New Jersey that'll sprout and that will ripple around, that community. And then I've got Northern California and her friends. And so I'm just hoping to spread the word about how to take care of yourself.
Yeah. And that's so valuable, right? I mean, and when you engage, so I'm just thinking about this connection, when you approach it from that perspective,
Yeah.
and then you're going into networking groups or getting introduced to women who potentially can help, that's a different approach, right? Because that's not always the approach that personal trainers or health people take when approaching women. Like that's a whole other
that is a
skew
whole other
of
thing.
mindset
I
issues.
know. Yeah. I think you talk about authenticity.
Yes.
And for me, as long as I have the opportunity to open my mouth, people will hear my passion. They hear my desire to just help you feel better. And it's not, flashy pictures on Instagram. It's not me flexing my muscles. I mean, sure, I have a couple of those because that's kind of obligatory in the industry, but there are a lot of people in my industry that are very different than me. They're all about the six pack abs and the this and that. And so their social media reflects that. And I don't ever meet them out in the community. I've not yet met another trainer that does what I do, much less very many that network, which is really interesting.
Yes. Which is fascinating because especially you're working directly with people in a very vulnerable space.
Very vulnerable. Very vulnerable.
If you're not out there connecting with folks, I'm like, it's just fascinating how that happens. But like I said, the deliberateness with which you chose, which was not to go the big box gym route, right? So you're already pushing against the grain with everything that you were looking to do.
That's my jam. I'm always swimming upstream.
Well, and that's why we connected.
I don't do well with following the crowd. I always have kind of done my own thing. And that's actually where I kind of struggled for a while there, was trying to figure out what my niche was and where I stood, because I was like, this doesn't feel authentic to me. That doesn't feel authentic to me. It's not really what I want to do. And it took some dialing down, and I actually hired a coach for that. And to really figure out, yay for coaching. I am always advocating coaching, not just for what I do, but I think for your body and your business. You always, whether it's a life coach, a business coach, a sales coach, a marketing coach, whatever. I just think you need that perspective. So I'm always in some kind of a coaching program. I just hired a stylist. I just signed on to her coaching program because you are always stressed. Well, I cannot put myself together. I don't know the first thing, like literally don't know the first thing. And so I met a few of them through networking, and I was like, I think she's the one. And it was because we connected, we had some conversations, we got to know each other. And I think that's, if you look at statistics to grow your business, referrals from, networking in person, word of mouth is so much more effective than a bunch of Google ads, Facebook ads, whatever, because people know who you are. They get to know your heart.
Well, and it's not, and you're not, I call it that whole spreading the seed everywhere. So in
Mhm.
the career world, it's like, oh, let me go paper the world with a
Yeah.
thousand resumes. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, how about we only focus on 5 of these? And
Yeah.
that stresses people out. But I'm like, the approach is different, just like with you. We're going to
Yes.
do a deep dive on
Yeah.
these.
Yeah.
And when you dig this deep on these, you won't even think about those other 995, which
Right.
are you're not going to get a response on anyways.
Right. Right.
But it's helping people to take a chance and a risk on themselves by
Mhm.
investing in themselves,
Yes.
empowering themselves, being
Yep.
an advocate for
Yes.
themselves
Yes.
to say, I don't have to do this that way.
Yeah.
And as coaches, you in the health world, in the fitness world, myself in the, executive advising world, like we're role models, whether we want to be or not. And I get that. I had to come to terms with that because
Yeah.
people reach out and they're like, I've been watching people I didn't even know. I've been watching.
Does that freak you out?
And
It kind of freaks me out when people are like, I watch all your videos. I'm like, ooh, that's kind of weird. Especially because they don't engage. Like it's
they
one
don't
thing
engage.
if they were like, hey, love your whatever, but they're just like lurking.
Yes, that's the word I was about to say, because we've been talking about it in my mastermind group. We've been talking about the lurkers.
Yeah.
And we're going to acknowledge you lurkers out there who watched this today. We want to encourage you to reach out to us, but we love you if you don't.
You can do
Just
like the hand
share.
clap emoji, just something. Let us know, like, hey, I'm watching, because that's kind of weird.
But when they do show up or step out, whatever it does, whatever's that trigger, and they're
Mhm.
like, I've been watching and you
Mhm.
helped me buy.
Mhm.
That is the energy
Everything.
that I know
Mhm.
myself, that you and the others like us, like we feed off of that because it takes us back to the space of reminding us of why we're doing what we're doing.
Right. Right. Oh, I know I'm guilty of lurking. I am. But it's you find, and I think that that's every coach I've hired. I have not engaged with their material until I was pretty sure I was going to hire them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I may follow a few that all do the same thing and, watch their videos, read their articles, whatever. And then I start to key on one that I think is probably the one that I relate to the most, who lands with me. Their coaching style seems to mesh with my learning style. And then I might comment on a post. But I have been trying to be better. That's part of networking too, right?
It is.
Being social on social media, like especially, LinkedIn, commenting on someone's post that, hey, I really thought this was valuable, or I really
Yes.
thought this was interesting that you posted that. Not only does that help you connect with people, but then it tells them, hey, that's good content. Keep putting that out there. And then they'll give you more.
Yes.
you know?
Yeah. You actually help us by
Yeah.
commenting, by
Yeah.
engaging, by saying, I see you,
Yeah.
right? And it helps us to know we're on the right track and to be able to, because we want to put out good stuff. We
Yeah.
want to
I
put
want
out
to put
things
out
that actually
information.
help
Yeah.
people.
Absolutely.
Heather and I are not, those slimy, just toss junk out there trying to get, like, that's not how we operate. Right.
No, I put a lot of thought into what I put out there, and I try to put as much out there as I can. Because again, I want every woman in the world to know that she deserves to feel good.
Yes.
The price of being successful, the price of being a mother, is not a life of misery. It is not a life of exhaustion. It is not hating how you look in the mirror. You don't have to just have a mom bod because you're a mom. Like, that's not a thing. It's okay.
Preach it, Heather.
It's okay to want to feel good. It's okay to look good.
It is.
And you can do all the things and still do that. It's really actually possible. And our culture will tell you otherwise. They will tell you that, you have to give up your body if you're going to be a mom, or you have to give up your career if you're going to be a mom. You have to can't be a good mom if you're, building an empire. That's just not possible. You must be neglecting your kids, which is total bullshit.
Yeah.
It just is.
And we fall into those traps. And I'm thinking about this. So, because I was thinking about when you said, you just hired a stylist. Yeah. And I'm like, guess what? I have I think it's 3 or 4 friends who are stylists. Like, these are folks I knew from, in real life.
Mhm.
And last year, I got to a point earlier in the year where I was having that thing that you were just describing.
Mhm.
I was having one of those mom bod moments. A lot of things were going on,
Mhm.
and I just wasn't. I love color. I love
Mhm.
my scarves, all of that
Mhm.
stuff, and I wasn't doing any of that. Like my wardrobe had turned black, and I was
Mm.
like, "This is not who I am."
Yeah.
And that's not who it is. And so to help me get out of that, I called one of these friends of mine. I'm like, and she's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Yeah, this is a business call." She's like, "Oh." and I was like, "I need
Like
you to be
SOS. Yeah.
SOS. I need you to help me, direct me in getting some things. I need to update my wardrobe because I hadn't been doing it because I put on some pounds and I was feeling bad about it." I'm like,
Exactly.
that doesn't mean you don't still deserve to look good.
No, no. And I think you were so, I mean, black is the color that everyone wears to the gym. I see so many women, it's like their whole wardrobe is black, and
Because
it's
they
because
tell us it's slimming.
it's slimming.
You know
And
why.
I know. And you don't want to be seen. That's it too. You want to kind
Mhm.
of, it's the same women that hide in the back of my classes at the gym. I'm like, I can see you. I can actually see you better than the front row because the front row people are like right here and I'm looking right at you.
Yeah.
But, it feels better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's hard to make that call. It's hard to
It's
make that
hard to make that call, but
hard to make that
so this is the thing that both of us work on too. It's a mindset shift.
call.
Like you just
Mhm.
have to get to that point of like, I'm tired of feeling that way. I'm tired. And I don't necessarily, you don't have to know how you're going to address it or how you're going to fix it. You just know that it needs to be fixed.
Right.
And you have to go find
Yep.
some help to make it
Yep.
happen.
Well, and the last coach I hired before this stylist, I knew I had some stuff going on with my body and it wasn't responding the way I wanted it to. I'm like, okay, I have a pretty in-depth understanding of our bodies and how they work. And I'm punching all the keys and it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, there's something blocking it. And I'm in the forest, so I can't see the trees,
Right.
and I just needed her. And it was hilarious because she's like, what would you tell your client in this situation? I'm like, well, I would tell her this. And she's like, maybe do that. I'm like, why am I paying you? But,
Great. We don't
but
take
I
our
was
own
paying her
advice.
because I need that mirror.
Yes.
And we all need that mirror.
Yes.
You can be the most amazing businesswoman ever. You can be running, an 8-figure business with 200 employees and, spinning, all the wheels are spinning. Everything is running like a well-oiled machine. But deep down inside, you are a hot mess.
Yes.
You don't look like it, but you are. And until you can have the courage to say, hey, I need help.
That courage, man.
Don't tell anybody I asked for it.
Yeah. Because then we get back to that whole visibility thing that we were talking about, and being seen, and how you don't necessarily want to be, but you have to be if you want to take that next level, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's very challenging for some folks, and some folks never really get to that point, and that's really sad.
It is sad.
It's really sad. And the thing is, when it comes to building relationships so that you can get to the next level of whatever it is, you do have to take the risk on being visible and being seen.
Yeah. Well, and I was just thinking, networking has been critical for me to be able to work with the right people because, I probably know a half a dozen copywriters. I probably know a dozen business coaches. They all have their own specialties, but now getting to know each one, I can know what to look for. And I know if I ever need that, I know who to ask, or if I have a client who needs it. And I can't tell you how, I'm sure you get this all the time, but the best people. Who do you know that this?
Yes.
And all it does is build my credibility. People think I'm well connected. They think I know, all these great people. And I guess I do, but it doesn't feel like that. Just
right.
feels like
Because you're
I've had
just
a lot
doing
of
it. It's a part
conversations.
of who you are and what you do.
Yeah. I've just had a lot of conversations, a lot of cups of coffee with people.
A lot of conversations. Yes. A lot of virtual coffees.
A lot of virtual coffees and in-person coffees, but it's been so great to have that. And now, my clients are like, well, I need, someone to help me with this, or I need someone to help me with that. And even myself, I've known I wanted to work with a stylist for probably the last year, but I had met a couple and I was like, not ready, not ready. And finally, the other day, I had the moment that my clients have. They're like, that is it. Things are changing right now.
Yes.
And it was funny because part of working with her was figuring out my colors, what colors are good for me, which I kind of knew, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Patricia, I went through and cleaned out everything in my closet that wasn't those colors. And they were perfectly good clothes. And I could hear my mom saying, those are perfectly good clothes. You shouldn't get rid of them. And I was like, no, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this.
You
And
got to
now I
feel
have
good
like,
in it. You got to feel good about it.
No, I didn't look. And my husband was like, yeah, I never liked that shirt on you. I'm like, well, I mean, he does tell me. He does tell me, I just ignore it. I'm like, whatever.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's like, that doesn't look the best. Not my favorite. And I'm like, it's fine. But I was like, this one. And I came out with this many empty hangers. It was amazing. It was like so cathartic. But now I know if I put something on, it's not going to wash me out. It's not going to make me look dead. And, so I think, but I would never have done that had I not met these amazing women.
Yeah.
And gotten to know them through the networking things and seen women like yourself and other professional women that look so put together. And I feel like a ragamuffin when I show up. I'm like, I need to start dressing better. I'm going to hang out with these ladies. I got to look good.
So fun. Well, I will own up to the fact, and folks who know me well or have known me for any length of time know I kind of have an obsession with scarves and costume jewelry. So I don't know that you want to dive into those depths, but let's just say I have a scarf collection that my child is like, I want you to put that in your will to me. I'm like, what? She's like, I'm just saying, make sure no one else gets the scarf collection. I get the scarf collection.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I am not a scarf girl. I feel like it's like,
and whatever it is. Yeah. No, I mean, and it's just, but it's whatever it is, whatever those things are that make you feel good in your body.
Yeah.
And when you're presenting yourself, and it's a real thing. And that confidence matters for all of us. It doesn't matter what it is we're doing.
And that's one of the things I see with my clients. As soon as they start taking care of themselves, and they start losing a little bit of weight, they start getting a little better sleep, their stress levels come down. Every single one of them makes a major life change. It's really cool. They start their own businesses. They, one of them, she got a new job. Another one was a physician. She opened up her own practice, like just because you finally feel good.
Yes.
You finally feel good. You finally feel confident. And then you can go, you know what? I think I'm going to do this on my own. I think I'm going to start my own deal. But if you're exhausted, if you don't feel like you look good, you hate how you look in the mirror, you're not going to go, and you go network. People do not want to be around you.
Right. Because that energy comes off.
You walk in and it's like Eeyore walking around with the cloud. Like you do not want to be, I'm like, And have you been in those? I've been in those virtual chats where I can feel it. Like I said, your energy popped positive. There are definitely people where you're like, I don't think I want to talk to you.
Yeah, no, it's funny when I have complete strangers reaching out to me sometimes. They're like, oh my God, literally, that's the thing. They're like, your energy just pops off the screen. I'm like, really? Because I thought I was a little tired on that one. And they're like, yeah, no. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's such a compliment. That's a huge compliment.
Thank you. Thank you. Huge compliment. But it's that thing that it feeds folks and it helps it. And it's like, I have to be who I'm supposed to be. So that I can help those people who need it, right?
Yeah.
And to connect and to continue to build out and to spread it, just like you've been saying. So in all of these things, because you've been having such, some fascinating experiences, what was the thing that was the most challenging for you when it came to reaching out and trying to connect, knowing what it was you were trying to accomplish?
I actually was thinking about this morning. I am a very direct person.
No.
Tact and like fluff are so hard for me. And like I will write an email and then I have to stop myself because I go straight to the point. I'm like, this probably is going to sound really abrasive. I should probably start with, hi, how are you? And it's not that I don't care. but it's kind of that I don't care because like we're trying to have like, let's talk about when are we meeting? We're meeting
Yeah.
Tuesday. Like that's the point of the conversation. Like if we want to ask how you're doing, let's have a different. It makes me sound like a jerk. It makes me sound like a jerk. But it was learning how to have conversations that maybe don't feel very productive at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to know people's, how many kids do you have? What do you like to do for fun? That kind of stuff. That didn't at first feel to me productive. It didn't feel like that was getting us somewhere as far as making money together.
Right.
But then I started learning, okay, if I really get to know people and I get to know what their background is and their family situation and whatever, we develop so much understanding and trust between one another.
Yes.
That it's a no-brainer.
Yes.
It's a no-brainer for them to say, here's my most vulnerable, I hate myself. I hate how I look. I'm going to tell you that. Like people aren't going to tell you that if you're just all business.
Yes.
So, and I think a lot of women like me were very, very direct, very like to the point, like get shit done. Don't mess around. Don't fluff it up. But there's a time and a place for fluff.
There's a time and a place for it. And it's really funny because when I get on a call with someone who's like that, but hasn't made the adjustment that you have, I can feel it. I can tell. And they don't want to, do that whole little thing because they're like, well, we're not going to get to the stuff that we were supposed to talk about. And sometimes, because you remember, I worked in politics for a really long time. Yes. You don't get what you want from the first conversation.
No.
Like you got half the time, you're probably 10 conversations in before you really get to what you need. But you can't have it unless you have conversations 1 through 9.
Right.
Right.
That's a bulletin board thing. I got goosebumps. Like conversations 1 through 9. Gotta have those. Yeah. 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 You don't get what you want in the first conversation.
And it's that thing, right? And it's really funny. One of the stories I love telling is, back in the day, having coffee with someone, we ended up, spilling over into lunchtime, and we're literally in the last 10 minutes and we're like, oh crud, we never talked about what we were supposed to be talking about. And he was like, but here's the thing, we spent time talking about our families, our kids, all, things around it. But when we got to that end point where we're like, oops, we didn't actually talk about the business we were supposed to talk about, here's how it ended. He says, I'm on board with whatever you want. Just call my assistant and tell him what you want and you need, and I'll okay it.
Exactly.
But you got to be willing to put in that time.
Required. No, nothing. Like people get to know you and they know this is my person. Yeah, I know. Yep. That's amazing. Yep. It's funny because politics is not anywhere I could ever be. I think that
there's a reason why I'm not doing it so much right now.
It's very hard for me to do that. But I have to say, I have learned a lot. I have learned a lot in how to properly network, and that it's about getting to know people. It's about having conversations with people, and it's made me a better coach because I take a little bit longer to get to know my client, a little bit longer to get to know her situation. And then we can relate to, like my client yesterday, we were talking in her coaching call and figured out we have the same messed up family dynamic. Our brothers both trigger us. We were like the perfect children that were always getting the straight A's, and mom and dad didn't have to worry about us. And now we put all this pressure on ourselves to be perfect because why? Because we were supposed to be the perfect kid. Right. And so we're having this conversation. And was that part of her coaching? I mean, I guess it was kind of part of it, but taking that moment to hear her story, now I know exactly where she stands and exactly how I can help her.
Yes.
Instead of just saying, hey, eat this many calories and, do this many workouts. Like there's so much more to it than that.
It's exactly that. I mean, one of my clients who has come back, this is the 3rd time she's come back to me for help. And when we were talking, she had put something out on LinkedIn and I was like, we need a conversation. And so she was like, yeah. And so we were just talking because I was like, what's going on? And she was updating me, and she was telling me about a service she was just about to go hire to do. And I kind of just looked at her. We were doing virtual. I was like, really? I was like, and you weren't going to call me to do X? And she was like, oh my God, what was I thinking? I'm like, how about you come back to the person who knows you?
Yes. We've already laid the
and
groundwork.
who
Yeah.
has laid the groundwork. I said, because literally all they're going to do is fill paperwork for you. They're not going to, they don't know you. They're not trying to get to know you. I said, as opposed to, when we work together, there's always a little extra and you're going to really get the support you need. And she's like, you're right, let's do it. And so there we are, re-engaged again, and just had this fabulous conversation where we realized part of her struggle that she would never have discovered had she gone with that service was she's like, I'm not ready to do this next thing this way yet.
Yep. And working with a good coach is what helps you. Like sometimes you do need to pump the brakes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Well,
so
good on you. Good on you for loving on her enough to still reach out and say, hey,
that part, reaching out. It's still just about reaching out because I could have seen that and ignored it. I wouldn't have. That's not what I would do. But other people would have seen it and like gotten triggered. I'm like, why didn't she call me or nigga? I was like, I messaged her immediately. I was like, what's going on? Right. And when
she's so grateful. That's the other thing that other people, that people find so scary is reaching out.
Yes.
But that's probably the other thing I had to learn was I'm not asking them to do something for me. I'm offering to do something for them and they probably want it. Yes. I'm probably being a jerk by not saying, hey, I can help you with that. They can always say no, but if I don't offer the help, I'm kind of being a jerk.
Got to put yourself out there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what has been your favorite or most effective networking strategy with everything that you've done?
I have to say it's having quality conversations and making sure that it's with the right people. Like when I walk in a room or when I enter a virtual room, I try to identify one or two people that I want to connect with. That's it.
Yeah.
There may be 50 people in the room. I know I'm not going to connect with all of them. And if you can see a list ahead of time, that's even better because you can kind of see what they do. And if they're in complementary fields or whatever, for example, business coaches are great connections for me. Generally, if people are looking for coaching, they're welcome. They're open to other coaching.
Yes.
And we all know if you need help in one area, you need help in all the areas.
Yep.
Right. So if I connect with business coaches, oftentimes my clients will tell me, oh, I'm so frustrated because I'm trying to open my own practice and I don't know how to do it. Or I am not sure what kind of career I want, but this is not it. So then I can connect them with the right coach because I don't do that. And vice versa. You're talking to your business coach and you're going, I don't want to go to this interview because I don't have anything to wear and I feel so fat and blah. Right. They can connect with me. So if I go in a room, virtual or regular, and there's a business coach, I'm trying to meet that person.
Yep.
Because I know that we will probably have a great connection. Now, if there's an auto mechanic, they're probably nice people, but generally we're not going to have a lot of referrals back and forth.
Right.
So I think being deliberate about who you speak to in the room. And if you don't know anyone coming in, you better listen carefully when they do the introductions.
Yes. You're speaking my language. I literally put it out there. I'm like, I'd really connect deeply with 5 than have business cards from 50.
No. And the follow-up. That's which I was not good at that. I finally have a system now for that. So, but I was not as good at that.
Yay.
So.
Following up is really important.
Yay for systems.
Yay for systems. I know I'm going to go get my systems person on board. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, oh my gosh, this has been so fantastic.
Thank you.
I feel like we've just let people eavesdrop on one of our conversations. And so where can people find you? What's the best way to connect with you for if they want to, reach out, follow up, follow you? Where can they do that?
So my company is HD Transformations with an S on the end. So my website's hdtransformations.com. That's my handle on all the social media. Other than LinkedIn, obviously I'm Heather Dumas, and I do have a business page, which I just found out they're coming back. LinkedIn is like allowing business pages to be
Oh,
seen again. So yeah, find me on any of the social medias, HD Transformations, or my website.
awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Heather, once again for being with us on Networking Chat today. And for those of you who joined us, or if you're following up, make sure to hit us up in the comments. We'll be coming back and following. This is going to go out on all the places. So you can find it on Facebook, on the YouTube channel, and on LinkedIn. Okay. Thank you all for joining us. And we look forward to catch up with you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.